Hey, Wade.
Good morning, Rob. How's life treating you today?
As amazing as ever, my friend. And how are you out there, my friend?
I am currently alive.
That's a beautiful thing. I mean, I'm happy that you're alive. I'm happy to be doing this with you yet again
Yeah, it's been
because,
a minute.
again, it's been a while, right?
It's it's been a minute. I mean, and a lot has happened too. I mean, there's the usual gap between seasons, but also we had TarotCon. I had the whole, trip overseas. We got to run around and do the whole city. It was great.
Yeah, we got a lot done and it's been an epic time. But you know what? While you were here, you got to meet some amazing and interesting people. And with
Oh, I
that being
really
said,
did.
yeah, and one of them is none other than our guest tonight. So, what can you say about him when you met him? When you met this good-looking young man?
Oh, uh, well, he's better looking than me. I have to shave all the time and everything, and the whole. But yeah, my first thought was looking at him, and I was like, "This guy's 12 years old. How the hell is he this good?" But
Yeah, good.
yeah, no, I was amazed. I was
Well,
amazed. But honestly, I trust your judgment. And when you tell me, "Hey, this guy is this guy, he's up and coming. He's a real deal," and I'm like, I'll trust your word, until I see what. And then I saw his presentation at TarotCon, and I was just like, well, okay, he's the real deal. This is
one
the
thing I
man.
respect about him, Wade, is the fact that he is a Mexican. He is not a Mexicant. In other words, he finds a way. He makes one. Whenever everybody else was crying that their pensions or their trust funds weren't maturing, he saw a genuine need for united occult community, or at least intuitive community in Manila, and even outside of Mysterium. He took initiatives and did things that people our age couldn't even do on their best days. He's put up events. He could have had a choice to get into singing or mass media, but instead he chose a spiritual path. And since then, he's been a pillar for the youth in this country. Because, like, unlike me, the crooked old man that I am, youthful people really like to flock towards him because his heart's in the right place. I mean, he's not trying to make himself look good. I've always said this about him, and when I came up with the saying that there are two kinds of tarot readers: those who use the tarot to make themselves look good, and those who use the tarot to make it look good. I was thinking about Gabe. So with that, without further ado, I'd like to invite our guest of honor, our season 5 opener, straight from the Philippines. The first time ever we're having a Filipino guest, aside from myself, on the show. My dear friend, the Prodigy, Gabriel Thoth. Hey, Gabe.
Hi everyone. Hello Wade,
Good
hi
morning.
Rob. Hello to all the viewers watching. Thank you for inviting me. And I did notice that I did thought I was like the first Filipino guest on the show. So that's also another thing that I'm very proud of for this episode. So thank you for inviting me, guys.
Well, you have set the stage for so many things, my friend, and it has been nothing short of an honor to be your friend, your mentor, and your brother. Gabe and I have done a lot of events together because I believe in his vision. But enough about me and being a crusty old man. We want to hear all about you, Gabe. So we're going to give you the floor, and we want to know about your story. What got Gabe into this?
You really want to start from like the very beginning because that's a different
Just give us
start.
the cliff notes, just when you had your awakening, because inquiring minds want to know.
All right. So as you've mentioned, Rob, I could have like started a career, or like picked up my career from the music industry, but during just before the pandemic started, I started going through my spiritual awakening, and when it was the lockdown, I had nothing like nothing at all except like tarot reading videos on YouTube, on TikTok, and I've been interested in the tarot for quite a long time before that. I had my
Mhm,
first tarot reading on my 20th birthday.
mhm.
Exactly the 20th birthday, the night that I turned 20, I had my first tarot reading, and that stuck with me. So that was like a month before we went lockdown. So moving into the lockdown, I locked myself in with like endless tarot reading videos until like the year after that I started like reading for myself, for friends. Then eventually, and here's a funny thing. Wait, I don't think Rob knows this, but um, the week before I met Rob, and this is also why, a lot of people might question why I stick by him, and I kind of see him as like an answered prayer in a sense. Because the week before I met Rob, I had this crazy experience where I started to see like tarot cards above people's heads, and I would have to like go on Google just to interpret what the cards I'm seeing meant. And it turns out like more often than not, or like 90% of the time, it actually made sense. And I did receive like a message from my guide that I will be meeting a teacher soon. I got that message very clearly. And then Rob, I don't know, like, I'm sure if Rob remembers, but Rob actually sent me a message like, hey, how can I be of service? I cannot forget that line. And we didn't know each other that time. But I knew about him because he was kind of famous. He is famous. So, like,
go on.
like being the spirit of the tarot community for the longest time, right, in the Philippines. And I ended up taking a class with Mysterium just because of that divine encounter. And then in the class, I see him having a Thoth tattoo, which was like, so he's the guy. He's the guy you were telling me about. So it was kind of like a very divine encounter, like the way I met Rob and got into the Mysterium community. And it really helped me, like, moving forward, like starting to read for other people out, even like outside the community. So I think that's how I started. Like, it really started with that.
Well, that's your
You know
tarot
what's
journey.
interesting is that happens so often. You'll have like one person that they're like, God, I need somebody. I need to meet somebody. I need a thing. I need this guidance. And you're kind of like, hello. And everything just you get to seeing it from the other side. This has happened to me more than a dozen times. You meet somebody and you're just like, hi there. And you just watch them completely unfold. It's amazing watching the effect you can have just showing up in someone else's life. But also it does happen more than you think, more than you would think. Somebody is like, okay, I need some guidance. And here's your guide.
Yeah.
They just kind of show up out of the blue. I love it. And it never gets old.
I still think of it like I would call it a mystical encounter, to be honest, just because of the synchronicities lining up,
So
and then like the Thoth tattoo on Rob's arm. Can you show your tattoo, Rob? Like that is what got me. Like that got me hooked. When I saw that, okay, period.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's,
okay,
it's the machinery of the universe all coming together.
yeah. So let me ask now. You go by the alias Gabriel Thoth. What was it that drew you to the Egyptian pantheon more than anything else? I mean, you could have done so many different things. What made you interested in that?
Funny thing, Rob, I never really wanted a bird god, if that makes sense. Like before I met Thoth, I always said to myself, "Oh, I want like a lion god," or like I was looking into like Horus. I was looking into Bastet, but never did I look into Thoth. Like there was only one time where I had like the mental process, telling myself like, what if Thoth could be my guide? It was from I was watching Spirit Science on YouTube, and Thoth came out in one of the sequences, and I asked myself, what if Thoth's my guide? But I've never really heard much about him, just on that video. But I told myself, like, I cut myself quickly, like, nah, I want like a lion being. I want like a very big cat energy. So I never really got interested in Thoth until I had this very sacred encounter, like in a very very deep meditative state. I found myself talking to Thoth. Like I was not seeing him, but I knew who I was talking to, and I don't even recall like how I got in the conversation. It's just like I was just there having that conversation, and it was in that conversation where um, he revealed to me some of the things that I've forgotten because of the human side, of course. And that's where he told me, and I don't really tell the story a lot, but he told me, I could not forget. He said, "I want to work with you again." And when he said that, I was, of course, my ego was saying, "Oh, what do you mean again?" And when exactly that moment where I articulated that question, "What do you mean again?" I instantly knew what he meant. Um, and This was also the week when I started collecting tarot cards for no freaking reason. I just thought it was cute, and I wanted a hobby that time. I wanted I want a collection, and during that time, like crystals, I already had a crystal collection. I already had a lot of shamanic tool collection, but I wanted to get into tarot cards for some reason, though I didn't know how to use them that time.
Mhm.
It was there actually that started my relationship with Thoth, and he was pretty active, the first year. The connection like strengthens, and sometimes it's not as strong. But definitely, the reason why I chose to go by his name is because I feel very connected with Thoth in a sense that even the synchronicities of like when I was born. I'm born on a Wednesday, born on exactly Mercury hour, and I had also like readings from other readers before, not necessarily with tarot, that seemed to be pulling me towards his domain. So yeah, that's how I got into the Egyptian and all.
All right, here comes my next question. All right, there are a lot of people in this industry who are just consumers. Okay, all they do is use, all they do is just practice on their own. But you took it up a notch, and this is why I call you the prodigy, because after the pandemic, you were one of the first people to actually start organizing events and gatherings and to bring the people together. And I wanted to know what compelled you to do that. I mean, what was that part of your advocacy? And that's been something you've been doing a lot lately. So, what
Mhm.
is what gave you that drive to do so? Because that's a lot of work and that's a lot of headache.
Mm, it is a lot of headache. I don't know. That feeling when you're like a child who just wants to play. Like, oh, for today I'm gonna play kitchen, or today I'm gonna play house, stuff like that. For me, that's really like the feeling that I got the first time I organized an event. I was just
Hmm.
really having fun, and it was also the first event where I really wanted to like get all these downloads out. All these things I've been realizing, all these connections I've been making. That really was the ignition point to the first event that I organized. And then the more I got deeper into tarot, the more I also realized where we can further improve on like how the tarot is presented or how the tarot is known. But definitely it came from my own need because it was during that time that there's no other events like
Yeah.
doing the kind of events that I would want to have or want to participate in. That time wala namang there was no mystic marketplaces, or there was no like Tarocon was not born in the Philippines yet. So I it started from a need, like I need this.
Hmm.
And I had fun and I decided to do like a couple more runs. Yeah. So that's basically how it started for me.
And you independently on your own have done several events. I've seen them and it's been very, very impressive. I just like to ask though, what are some of the trials, the tribulations, the sacrifices you've had to make in order to get these events to be successful?
Well, a lot of my time, honestly, and that's why currently, like, I've not been organizing as much events as I would want, because it really takes a lot of time. And I'm pretty sure, Rob, you know this from the back of your hand how much
Mhm.
time organizing an event would cost you. And my events is not even as big as Tarocon. It was really just more of me renting out like a dance studio and then like gathering people to join. So back in 2022 was the year that I was most active. I
Mhm.
did like a Lionsgate portal ceremony.
Mhm.
I did like full moon ceremonies, and I really had just so much fun doing that I didn't notice myself planning event after event. But then
Mhm.
of course now like where I am currently, like I'm also been focusing on a lot of other stuff like writing the book, the book
Yeah.
that we're going to be releasing.
Mhm.
I've also been like focusing on my coaching sessions. I've been creating programs, and currently I'm also going back. I'm taking your advice, by the way, Rob, from 2 years ago. where I'm going back to my music and to just widen the scope of where I can bring my message, regardless in what form, regardless if it's in the form of tarot insight or in a song. So, but definitely, I'm not gonna stop. I'm still gonna be creating events. Not sure when, but for me, it's really like just me in a playground. I know you know what I mean, Rob.
Yeah, well, I take it from the old
I'm
man's
curious about something. Do you
Mhm.
Go ahead.
do you have like public events where you do readings for people? Like, do you go to coffee shops, or do you have like an event or something where people can just come to you and consult you?
Yeah. I
Nice.
used to do actually. I used to do like a coffee shop tour. I call it like a coffee shop tour in my head because I would partner up with a lot of coffee shops and then like just host an intimate circle and invite. I would be posting like 3 days early than the time that I set for that event. It's not really like an event like where there's microphones and lights. It's really just an intimate space, and that's the kind of space I really thrive in. I like it when it's very intimate. I like it when
Yeah.
I get to connect on a much deeper level to the person who's getting a reading rather than just like doing it online most of the time. Well, I also
Right.
do that,
But it's
but
not
it's
like you're
different.
standing on stage and they're in the audience. You're actually connecting with the public face to face.
Yes.
Which brings me
Nice.
to my next question. Well, somebody's saying, Jerome, hey, this is Jerome. Iceman is saying, hey, Rob, Wade, and Gabe. Hey,
Hey,
Iceman. Anyhow,
Jerome.
here's the next question I'm going to ask
Hotel.
you. About your book. You mentioned you're coming out with a book, and of course, yes, it's been official that Gabe was the first Filipino author signed by Magick TV Publications. What was the inspiration behind your upcoming book,
Basically,
or what
everything
you
that
wanted to
I've
share?
been going through
Mm-hmm.
for the past 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'm pretty sure like if some of the audience know me from like Facebook, like I really stopped doing the events like 2023. That's when I became inactive. That's also where my journey, my I like calling it my the second layer to my onion started to get peeled.
Mm-hmm.
So can I say the title of the book?
It's your book. You can share whatever you want.
The book that I'm working on is called Inner Alchemy.
Mm.
It's not that esoteric. Like I know when you read the title Inner Alchemy, you expect something very esoteric, but my writing style is really like simplifying these highly esoteric and occult concepts from my own lens, from my own dissolution, from my own battles. So the book is it's I don't really like calling it a self-help, but it's like a guide, an intuitive guide for anyone who's going through like a very tough time. And this is basically patterned from my 5 week program called Inner Alchemy, where I guide people into like their journey towards becoming like a better version of themselves. Like I don't want to give too much of what the book has, but it's basically like a guide that I wish I could have had 5 years ago. So I'm writing for myself basically. I'm writing for my younger self. And I know a lot of people can be able to connect with that because everybody goes through shit,
Mm-hmm.
but not everyone writes the solutions they find along the way. And that's what I aim to provide, through this book.
Well, I like that you said that you write for yourself because just like me, I am the teacher I wish I had when I was much younger. I mean, I'm not the ideal teacher, but you know what I mean? It's like you try to be what you didn't have for yourself. But like aside from that, I wanted to ask when it comes to your personal advocacy of magical practice, of esoteric practice, what's your personal advocacy, your integrity? What do you personally believe in?
I personally believe, and this really applies to most of my life, it's to ground it in practicality. Like we can be magical and be human at the same time. It's about finding the middle way, as I call it. Um, I know the Buddha has talked about the middle path, and for me, like it's now more than ever more relevant, to find the middle path. And even in the path of mysticism, occultism, and living an ordinary, well, not so ordinary, but a human life, that has always been my advocacy. And I think we've had certain conversations, privately, Rob, that
Mhm.
I shared it with you, but it's basically why every event that I organized in the past was, its main mission was to help people, like build like a more tangible understanding of what these practices are. Like in a month, I would be hosting this sigil magic workshop with Enchante,
Mhm.
and a big part of that workshop is not really just focusing on the mystical part of it, but also the scientific part of it, like why it works, how it
Mhm.
works. So I personally am a very skeptic person, and I think it serves me well, and it really like leaks into my being that I like skepticism in a way that it protects me. So my main advocacy is really just thinking for yourself and finding the perfect balance of being an eternal being, on a temporary human experience, but at the same time live that freaking life, that sometimes we hate. But when we find the balance, I feel like that's when we get to see the silver lining.
So with somebody who's had the experiences that you've had, Gabe, you've been a not a gatekeeper, but a gate opener to many, many people. And I really respect you the most for that. But I'd like to ask you now, what would you say would be your biggest caution for somebody you just met who's entering this world that we're part of? I mean, especially coming from where you came from to where you are now. I mean, what would you tell them to be careful for?
A lot of things, Rob. It's like speaking to my younger self who was just too open. When I started awakening, I was too open. I met a lot of bad people. Um, mm, and, I think this would also be like an advice for my younger self. And it's really just to think for yourself. I feel like that's what people lack when they enter this path because they're just so amazed. They're so, what's the right word? Like, very open because perhaps it's the first time they're like bringing themselves out of their prison, not
Yeah.
realizing they're entering another prison.
They're very
So
vulnerable when they first come into a community like that. I
very
noticed the
vulnerable.
same thing when I started getting into communities in the 90s, and it's the same with every magic using tradition. You Whether it's the OTO or Palamayombe, someone is always going to try to recruit you for their war.
Hmm.
And
Mhm.
it's it's easy to get caught up in the bullshit, and eventually you realize, like, wait a minute, why am I doing this for you? This is doing nothing for me. And at the end of the day, you have to do it for yourself. But it's easy to get caught up because you come into a new community and you trust people and you want to like them and you want them to like you.
Yeah,
And coming in the position of vulnerability where you're susceptible to that kind of thing.
hundred
That's why I live
percent.
in a swamp.
I agree with that. Because going back to those moments where I just started awakening. I'm not gonna say like I'm not even fully awakened right now, but in those early moments of awakening, I was just too vulnerable. I was too open. I was seeing everything with rose-colored glasses, if that's how you use that word. But um,
Yeah.
essentially, like a funny thing is that the first community that I got into when I started awakening, they were just scared of everything, and little was I realizing that I was starting to get scared of everything as well. I started absorbing their energy and absorbing their ideologies, their beliefs, their perceptions, to a point that I actually was like afraid of the Egyptians in the beginning. um I had my, I'm not sure if I can say it here, but the first community that I got into was the shamanic community.
Mhm.
And though there are a lot of good people there, there's also a lot of crazy ungrounded people there. And the first people that I got with, starting this journey, they kept saying that there was this Egyptian spirit who wanted to take my soul or something. And that made me very scared of the Egyptians. And I had not known anything about them, but it all manifested when we had this ayahuasca ceremony, and I started seeing hieroglyphs. But because of
Mhm.
the condition that I got, the perspective and the belief that was given to me, like the Egyptians are out to get your soul. When I started started seeing hieroglyphs in my vision, I was like, oh shit, get away from me. I even cursed at the hieroglyphic visions that I was seeing because I thought I was being taken, like my soul was being taken. And
Mhm.
if it was not for this friend who came to help me, like sat with me, and it was also this friend who gave me my first introduction to Hermetic philosophy. That's Hermetic philosophy saved my ass. Like if it wasn't for those late night conversations where I was shared the concepts of thinking for yourself, correspondences, like how everything is just mental. Um, I don't think I would be the Gabe that you guys know right now. I think I would still be scared of everything. So
Did you
a
by
big
any chance write? Did you by any chance write down the hieroglyphics that you saw?
I didn't because I thought like they were evil.
Yeah.
But you know, here's also the thing. We did that ayahuasca ceremony without anyone to strip sit us. So it was me, two other friends. They were going crazy, like literally, like they were crazy, and I was also like getting a bit crazy during that time. And seeing the hieroglyphs, I was freaking out even more until like I had no other choice but to just witness whatever the hieroglyphs are showing me. And a voice said, like, sleep. I was like, hell no, I'm not gonna sleep. I might not wake up. Um, but essentially, like, it left me to a point that okay, fine, whatever happens, if I die, I die. Went straight into my room, left my two friends, like they were like batshit crazy during that time. I slept for like what 5 seconds. Like I don't know how long or how short I slept, but I slept for 5 seconds. When I woke up from that short sleep, looked at my hands, and everything was back to normal. So in a way, the Egyptians actually saved my ass during that time. I was just not able to understand it from this perspective because of the beliefs, and this is why I'm so heavy on like grounded spirituality. That has always been my advocacy. We can live spiritually, but also still live with our feet on the ground. Because if we don't, there's no point of you living a spiritual life because you're gonna be blinded by your own light. So I'm
True.
very heavy on that.
Yeah. Another problem too is when it comes to newcomers is the threat of guru worship. A
Ah,
lot of
yeah.
students make that mistake that the minute they start learning under somebody, they literally think that that person's God. I've seen families go to shit for that. I've seen people get taken advantage of. And like I like saying, ultimately, if it looks like a cult, if it acts like a cult, it likely is a cult. But people don't tend to know what a cult is. So the primary thing of a cult will always be control. So if you're new to these kind of practices and the group that you're part of is trying to control your every action, chances are they're a cult. But if they're like, all right, come with me, do what you got to do, you're your own person, then they're most likely something else.
Yeah.
Have you ever had experiences like that with a cult or anything like it?
Something close to it.
Uh,
At the community that I was talking about, the first community that I got into, like if you believed something else other than the belief that they want you to believe in, it's like you're an outcast.
there you go.
It even came to a point where they made me choose like them or this friend who actually helped me uh release these beliefs that was actually like taking a toll on my mental health during that time. So in a way I have kind of experienced like a cultish community, but not like a cult. Like I don't think I'm stupid enough, even back then, to
Yeah.
like fall for a cult. So I'm very grateful that even then I had like a level of self-awareness where I know when enough is enough. But there are a lot of cult-ish, like, or just plainly a cult, um, in the country. And I think that's also one of the biggest problems that we have. It's like people don't know when a cult is a cult until they are suffering through it.
Exactly. And I don't think the word is stupid, actually. I think the word is desperate. Because you
Ah,
see, one thing that people in our community tend to have, especially here in the Philippines, is this really, really desperate need to belong. I mean, like, for example, because like I like to actually compare the occult community with the homosexual community because they have the same problems at times. A lot of homosexuals I know, especially in the province I used to live in, which shall be unnamed, were too afraid to come out of the closet because people would mock them or people would criticize them. Which is the same thing with the practices we do. We're too afraid there to speak up about what we do. But in that being the case, with there being so few people who can accept you, you literally latch on to anyone. And in most cases, that becomes a deterrent in itself. That needingness to belong. Did you ever have that problem when you were coming up that like you really needed to belong somewhere to the point where it nearly overrode your logical way of thinking?
I would say yes and no. Just because I did for a time felt like I needed to belong, but ever since I've always been like cool on my own, you know. But I did try to make it work. Perhaps the most recent cultish group that I joined, I kind of like that group in a sense that I like the family vibe of it because it's like, oh, we're a family here, yada yada yada. But essentially, I caught on to the bullshit, um, and it's crazy because they don't even know they're a cult. You know, they're not even aware that they're acting on cultish tendencies. Like there was this person, I think you know this person, Rob. But but this person likes how do you say, it's like affirming people with like very low self-esteem. It's like they're licking asses, you know, they're licking each other's asses. And now because they established this kind of dynamic, now every time someone questions what this person or this person's philosophy is for the group, now you have like a demon attached to you or something. That's basically my experience with that group. It's like if you don't think like them, you're different and there's something wrong with you.
Wait, was it ever like that during your days in like the OTO and the Temple of Set or anything like that?
Oh, back in my day, we had. Yeah, no. Anyway, yes, I was that just reminded me of back in the '90s. I was doing. I've been initiated in different magic using traditions, and one of them was with British traditional witchcraft, which is neat. It's interesting. They have a completely different magical process for doing actual work. But one of the things that I noticed in it was there's this dynamic that when you join the coven or when you're being groomed, and I'll just say that you're being groomed to join the coven, you're being taught by either the high priest or the high priestess of the opposite gender. So that they're saying, well, this creates more of a bond, and they encourage them to begin a sexual relationship because it helps with the training. Now, I don't know if this is true in every tradition, if this is true in every branch of British traditional witchcraft, but it was true in this one. And you end up basically, you know, I guess if you're lucky enough to be the high priest or high priestess, you're basically having sex with everybody, and this is just expected. I never found that to be a good model for training students. I can't imagine who would say that it was, but it can't be a healthy thing.
Yeah,
and that's just one tradition where I've seen they do this, but I've seen other ones where you're expected to essentially put out for the leaders of the group the whole time you're there. I've seen like pretty bad things happening with different groups. So yeah, it does happen. It happens less now. But
how does it usually end for the group, Wade?
What's that?
How does it usually end for the group who practices things like that?
Well, the thing is with the covens, with the traditional witchcraft, they schism periodically. They call it hiving, and they make it more like, okay, well, this young woman is going to take over these people from the coven, and she's going to split off and form her own things, and then we get more people on this side, and they get more people on their side till it's a full coven again. a lot of the chaos magic groups will do this too. They'll build up until there's enough of an ego clash
Mm-hmm.
that they split, and they each take some with them, and then they reform, and then they split again, and they reform. It's this whole magical mitosis, I guess. Whenever one person's ego gets too big to be in the group or to be subservient to someone else, they select the people they want to take with them, and they go away. And it's just something that happens. But it is 100% ego based, and it doesn't make for, like, you're never going to see a coven of like 60 people, because once you get to that point, there's always going to be somebody whose ego can't handle not being in charge, so they have to hive off and take another one. And it's just when you do this with humans, this is what you're going to get. You're always going to get some blowhole who can't handle being second banana, and they're like, well, I'm just going to take my people and go. And you're like, okay, off you go. And you continue from there.
Seems to be
I can't say if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but this is part of magical dynamics.
Seems to be. All right, Gabe. So for the next thing we're going to do, we're going to be doing the Jon Stewart segment of the show, where it's all about current events. We're asking you, what do you think about the present occult state of the community? It could be in the Philippines, it could be globally. Is it going up? Is it going down? What are your hopes for it? We want to hear you. Like, what do you think is the state of the community, wherever it is you're at, towards whatever you're practicing? You can come from any angle you'd like. We want to hear from you. What do you think about the state of occultism nowadays?
I've kind of been noticing a pattern where I think for the people who started awakening during the pandemic, me being one of them, I feel like now we're in the integration process. It's personally, like, I've noticed that even some of my friends who I was with during the start of our awakening cycle, we were like really high in the clouds during those days, and now I'm seeing that a lot of my friends and a lot of the people that I encountered during those times are starting to integrate their spiritual paths in their normie human mundane path. And I feel like the collective is having this recalibration where we're not being asked to like live a monk life, just to be spiritual, but it's about bringing that spirituality to wherever you are and everywhere you go. So I feel like it's kind of good because spirituality is becoming less performative as the days go by. But also, there's a lot of people who cannot take the heat of their spiritual journey, so they're reverting back to either old beliefs or finding solace in religion. But definitely, I feel like currently we're having a recalibration process where the high priest in the clouds is being asked to touch some grass, and like you choose where to go from there. Well, that's from my observation anyway.
What's your prediction in the next 5 years? Do you think we're going to have more Gabe Thoths, or are we going to have more witch talkers in the next 5 years?
I feel like people are starting to sense bullshit. I feel like we're going into that intuitive zone where we can immediately sense when people are doing it for performance or doing it because it's their message. So I feel like there will still be like a lot of witch talkers, but definitely I think the people who are genuinely on this path are starting to gain the recognition and the influence that we need for our mission. So I think it's a mix of both, but I don't see that we are gonna lose, in a sense that I feel like authenticity is the dominant energy moving forward, and if you don't have that, then better find another path. Better like just focus on yourself.
Yeah,
I think
focus
it's
on
really,
stuff like religion or cosplay or something like that. Who knows?
yeah.
All right,
Religion.
what's your hope? If you had your hope to be like really ironclad, what would you say would be your hope for the practice in the next 5 years?
My hope personally is for us, the people on this path, like to genuinely be on this path, not for performance, not to sell the next best-selling course about healing or light working,
Mhm.
um, but to integrate that in your persona. To integrate that into your human side, your human nature. Because I feel like when we get to a point where our spirituality becomes normal, not esoteric by any means. Not to say that it's not esoteric, but just to have your spirituality be the normal default mode. And wherever you are placed by the universe, whether you're placed in, I don't know, working for McDonald's or having your own business, as long as we are able to integrate spirituality into this world, I feel like that is what's gonna help us propel, the community even more. And again, the only problem that I'm seeing currently is that a lot of people seem to still be capitalizing on the fact some people cannot discern yet whether what they're presented is bullshit or legit. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting that you mentioned that, and like, yeah, you're right. Authenticity is very important. You're one of the most authentic people I know. But if we're before we go to the occult X segment, I'm sure that in the next 2, 3, 5 years, you might be sitting down with Gabe, telling him his own story of like, okay, kiddo, I respect you for what you're doing, but here's the lowdown. What would you say is your warning and your words of caution for the future occult leaders of this country? Those who have the heart like you, who want to step up, who want to organize events, who want to put things together. What are some of the things that you would like to caution them and to tell them in advance to watch out for?
You know, one of the things that I found to be true is that when you get to a place of influence and like reaching a lot of people, the devil does come out. And
Mhm.
when I say devil, it's not like a literal devil, but like the shadows, like our desires comes out, suppressed feelings. So I
Mhm.
always say to my friends when we have these kinds of conversation that if only I was not as grounded that as I am. Um, I could easily be a cult leader.
Yeah, you
I
could.
could,
With your charisma, yes, you could, kiddo.
and I feel like eventually everyone who goes on this path would come to a point of realizing that they have every ounce within them to become a cult leader. Now it also takes every ounce of strength not to. And
Hmm.
I think that's going to be my advice is to stay true to why you're doing what you're doing. And if you're, let's say, hosting events, why are you doing that events? Is it, again, like what you said, is it to look good or is it to actually benefit everybody else in this community? And as long as we are in touch, with our purpose, with our mission, this is why I like using the word mission. It gives me the depth that I need to stay grounded, compared to if I call this, oh, it's work, or it's just another event. And I'm pretty sure like everyone who's going to go on this route would one way or another um, phase a part of themselves, that has the potential to be the next cult leader. And again, just use every strength you have in your body, in your soul, not to be. Because the temptation is very real. The temptation will come. It's like part of the test.
Hmm.
And if you stay true to your words, to your soul's message, I don't think that would be a problem. So it's really just about sticking to your values and sticking to what you believe in and sticking to the promise that you've made to the universe and to yourself.
A lot of it's also going to be about the focus, because I've had the privilege of working with people like Ebony Onpu, who they he definitely had his own following, his own group. He had the whole Hawk and Jackal group going on, and people that would show up at his house, but he never made it about himself. He
Hmm.
always kept the focus on the individuals in the group. He didn't have the whole, oh, I'm going to sleep with anybody I want. Oh, you people, you have to bring me stuff. You have to pay, to be part of this. You have to bring me food or money or gifts or whatever. He never made it about himself. And I mean, you can have a group. You could even say it's a cult, but if it's not, if the personality running it is not making it about themselves, it can still be a good growth environment for a lot of people.
Mhm.
It's only ego that
Definitely.
makes things like this go bad.
Exactly. I think the thing that makes things like these go bad is when the needs of the greater good become second to the needs of the one on top. That's where you have a real cult.
Yeah.
Like example, if you had somebody like Crowley and the only thing he was serving was Crowley and not the growth of Thelema, they're not the growth of OTO, then it's a cult. It's really the worst kind of. It's a cult of personality. But if that individual is a charismatic leader and you could see that they're doing what they're doing for the growth of that community, even if they're a jackass, people will be more willing to tolerate them. So as long as you put the cause before yourself, you won't be considered a
Mhm.
despot. Because the last part we're going to go to is what we call occult
Exactly.
texts. And when it comes to occult texts, this is where you, the speaker, can share with us and teach us anything you'd like, any technique, method, anything you'd like comes from your arsenal of techniques. It's just basically giving all of us who tune in an opportunity to learn something from you. Now, for all of you out there who say, "What's this kid gonna teach me?" You will be surprised. He's got a lot of tricks up his sleeve. He's Spider-Man to me. So, Gabe, take it away.
All right. There's only one thing that's actually coming into my mind that I feel like a lot of people would need.
Mhm.
I wouldn't say it's esoteric by any means. It's actually more psychological than it is mystical.
That's fine.
But I actually got this from reading the first two pages of the Corpus Hermeticum.
Mhm.
There was this in the first two pages of which, by the way, took me like an hour and a half to go through.
Mhm.
Crazy how two pages can take like so much time. But there were the discourses between Poimandres and Hermes talked about the three levels of the mind, which
Mhm.
is um, the nous, the divine mind, the psyche or the soul, and then we have the dianoia, which is the thinking mind. Um, Somewhere there in those passages, he actually mentioned a craftsman mind. When I read about this, I decided to study about it more, and then it actually became the backbone of a big part of what my book is all about in Inner Alchemy, which is demystifying these complex compartmental spaces within our mind to actually make use of it much more efficiently. So um, I guess what I just want to share with the viewers here is that our mind, as crazy as it is, it's for me, it's divided into four spaces or four levels, which is again the first one, which is the nuance, or which I call it in the book as the divine mind, just to make it easily understood. Like, what the fuck is a nuance, right? So I'm calling it divine mind there. So the first level is the divine mind. And I think this is also what the Buddha
Mhm.
was referring to as the middle way, because it is the middle way between the good thoughts and the bad thoughts. It's really just an observer. It's pure awareness. There's nothing that comes from it other than observation. Now, the psyche is what I call the soul intelligence. It is basically where the inspirations come from, where the imagination is constructed. And then the third one, which in the book I actually refer to it as the craftsman, or the craftsman mind from the Corpus Hermeticum. It's actually what I call in the book as the narrative mind, and this is where we get stuck. This is where we are conditioned. It's basically where every programming comes from. This is also where potential lies. So referring back to our earlier conversation, like, why do we have cults? Why do we have people who take advantage of other people? It's because this is basically the theme or the motive of their narrative mind. It's their conditioning. If they haven't worked through their trauma or the feeling of not being good enough, then they're gonna take advantage of someone else that they can manipulate. The fourth level, or the lowest level, is actually the thinking mind, or the
Mhm.
dianoia. This is basically the mind, the part of the mind that constructs the scenarios. It's what thinks. But most people don't realize that the thinking mind is limited to the capacity of the craftsman mind. So the only in a way, like the only building blocks that the thinking mind has is the building blocks that the craftsman crafts. So if we want to think beyond the box, then we have to deprogram the narrative mind. We have to start questioning our beliefs, our perceptions. And this is something that was really like helpful on my path. Like if I never questioned the beliefs that I got from the first community that I joined, I would still be crazy. I would still be like on the verge of fearing for my soul because some Egyptian entity was out to get it, which now makes more sense if we base on that story that, okay, perhaps there was an Egyptian god who wanted to get my soul, but not for the bad reasons. But because my mind, my craftsman mind, the conditioning within the third level of mind was really leaning towards the negative, I was not able to see the positive. So this is one thing that I'll be sharing in my book that I have a feeling can help a lot of people like go through, you know, their own moment of choosing, like choosing their own beliefs, choosing their own thoughts, thinking for themselves. um and I guess the one of the reasons why I wanted to share this is because, you know, I've noticed that there's a lot of people suffering mental health issues, especially in our modern day world, where, you know, attention spans are shortening. We can't even remember directions anymore, let alone like phone numbers. Because I am a 90s baby, like I'm born in 1999, so I had like a short glimpse of what it felt like to memorize phone numbers, to memorize streets, like without needing your Google Map or your Waze. And right now, like the ability to memorize streets, the ability to memorize phone numbers is being replaced by, you know, our mind's ability to hold on to fears, to hold on to the negative, and to just like self-destruct. And I feel like by understanding the four levels of the mind, I feel like a lot of people can actually free themselves and actually find the middle way, which is, in my understanding, the middle way is the pure awareness that's in between the good thoughts and the bad thoughts. So it's something that, you know, I hope some people might benefit from.
It's amazing. Thank you for that. And like one thing I wanted to ask was before we actually give you a round of applause for that one. All right. Before we actually-
Oh, when is your book going to be out?
yeah, we're about to ask.
I am hoping, but I'm not forcing anymore because forcing actually kept me paralyzed for like a week, and I'm not gonna do that anymore. But I am hoping. No. I don't like hope. I am envisioning that this book is launched during the Spring Equinox Tarot Contest. So I am, you know, I it's so easy to write, but to put yourself in that state of writing is what's hard. And if all goes well, like this book would be out as early as April. So
All right, here's a question I'm going to ask you. Even if it's not done, do you think you're going to be able to give a demonstration of one of the exercises from that book to share at the TarotCon crowd?
oh, definitely, Rob,
All right.
definitely.
So it's official.
100.
Gabe's going to be on stage again this spring, and he's going to share something from his upcoming book, and he's going to take pre-orders of his book if it's not available then. So this is something for all of us to look forward to. So before we let you go, do you have any upcoming events, workshops, anything you want to plug to our audience so we can support you?
All right. Okay. I think this is also like connecting to what I've mentioned earlier that for me I felt like I'm in a cycle of integration. So believe it or not, Rob, like besides the Sigil Magic workshop that I'm hosting in Enchante Cafe in Alabang, which again is not just focusing on the mystical part of it. Like that's just the first part. The second part is really more on understanding like the mind's phenomena, the phenomenon of the mind, to even make this possible, like how sigils work. It's gonna happen in the first week of March, and at the same time, I think May has already talked to you. She mentioned to me, and we're giving away tickets for TarotCon for the people who's attending that workshop. But other than that, I'm also gonna be performing. So this is quite new, well, old new. but I'm gonna be performing some new songs that I've been writing uh, sometime next month because I'm launching my EP, which is my extended playlist. Like it is what comes before an album, basically. I'll be releasing new music, starting if all goes well. Probably the first song would be released by Valentine's Day. So I'm also going back
Amazing.
into my music, and that's where I'm bringing my message at this point.
I'd love to play it during the show. So, Gabe, once again, you're such an inspiration. People around you are so happy to have you. Those are everyone. That's Gabe Thoth, starting season 5 of Magick.tv. Don't go anywhere. We're just going to wrap up the show, but don't leave.